Welcome back to Boring Reviews.
Boring land.
Oh, just kidding.
Blasphemer! Hello,
right.
Boring Review Nation!
Kind of pointless.
We know all things.
All right, welcome back to Boring Reviews. Nick here, and I'm bringing you my full spoiler thoughts about Pushpa, The Rise, Part 1, which is an interesting title because when you watch this film, at the very end, you're told about the next film's title. And before I get into that, if you're new to Boring Reviews and you like what you hear, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. And if you really like what you hear, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. I posted my straight out of the theater reaction last night, my time. Go ahead and check that out right here. I believe it is the link. Click that. Watch that. It's under 2 minutes. And then come back and watch the rest of this review. And this review will be full of spoilers. So if you have not yet seen it, check out my quick reaction. No spoilers whatsoever. And then come back after you watch the movie and watch my review. I really appreciate it. So let's go ahead and get into this. At the very end of this film, you get the title for the next one. Pushpa, the Reign, right? No, the Rule, excuse me. The Rule. And it's interesting how this is called Pushpa, The Rise, Part 1. It should just be Pushpa, The Rise, and then Pushpa, The Rule. But I get it. It is what it is. Not going to worry about it too much. In my quick reaction in the theater, I had said that I love this film, and I still do. Sometimes when you watch a movie come out of the theater, you feel one way, you feel more excited or more let down based on your expectations for it. And then either you watch it again or you think about it some more, and sometimes your opinion changes. My opinion has not changed. And just a little bit of housekeeping here. I've not seen any other people's reviews or read reviews. I mentioned on my video last night that I had heard some things through Instagram about how people didn't like it too much and how one YouTube channel, OSR, supposedly gave an unfavorable review, but I have not seen that myself because I wanted my thoughts to be completely my thoughts and not have anything else get in the way. So you're going to get just my thoughts before I do, when I'm done recording this, check out other people's thoughts because I'm really curious how people feel about this. A lot of excitement for this film coming out. This film stars Allu Arjun in the title role character as Pushpa. It's directed by Sukumar, who has directed the Arya films, he's directed other films, he's written some films, or a lot of films. I think it's like 18 writing credits. And I believe Allu Arjun has worked with him quite a few times, especially in those Arya films. This also has a short appearance by Faasil, fantastic actor, and it also has Rashmika Mandanna in it as the female lead character, Shriyani. I'll make sure I'm saying that right, Shravali. And I want to also mention, because I'm probably not going to mention him in the review individually, but I want to mention that I really, really loved, here it is, Jagadish Pratap Bandara as Kesava, as Pushpa's little right-hand man. This guy was fantastic. This guy always brought some levity to the screen. He was that comedic sidekick, but he was also someone that was very loyal to Pushpa. I loved the character, and I loved the acting by Jagadish. So, thumbs up to you. Props, absolutely. But this film, it's a 3-hour film, okay? And I can't think of too many scenes outside maybe a handful or so where Allu Arjun is not in this film. And let me start with him. This guy was fantastic. I loved him as Pushpa. And the few people I have talked to about this on Instagram have both agreed. Fantastic. Comment section from my reaction video yesterday said he's fantastic. It seems like everyone's on board with that. So I'm glad to know that at least there's something that people are agreeing with me on, if a lot of people did not like this film, because I loved it. Allu Arjun, this is my first film I've seen him in. I've seen him in a lot of reactions. I've known him before as a guy who's really good at dancing, but when you watch this film and you don't pay attention to the musical numbers, which all those I loved, I'm not going to get into that too much, but I did love all the musical numbers. Obviously, the one that's going crazy on the internet right now was fantastic, but the other ones were really, really cool too, especially that first one with the axes where they're dancing. I think that was the first one with the drums. That was really, really cool. But all the dance numbers, for me being an American getting into Indian film the last few years, dance numbers are hit or miss for me. I'm not a huge musical guy, so music in movies is not something that I was originally used to. I've gotten used to it in Indian films. I've come to expect it. But sometimes in an action film like this, the musical numbers are there just to kind of please the crowd, and they don't really have a lot to do with the movie. These musical numbers were fantastic. These musical numbers, I think, can be enjoyed by people of all different interests when it comes to music and movies. And I thought they were very relevant, even if it took our character away from it a little bit, except for that romantic song. That was very in line with the story. But I thought the music was great. I thought the songs were great. And Allu Arjun, I knew him as a great dancer. That dance he does where he like moves his leg wide and he kind of drags his foot in the romantic dance number, that kind of stuff was cool. I mean, I don't think I could do that, and it seemed like a simple dance move. But he has some other dance moves, especially the credits song where he's doing that thing with his leg. This guy can dance, but as a character, don't take me wrong, you wouldn't think he'd be able to dance because he's such a serious guy as Pushpa. He has like this look on his face. And as I'm watching it, I was digging it from the first moment, but I was wondering, is he going to keep that as one note, or is he going to, oh, he blended it around. He was able to stay as Pushpa, but then he was able to show the emotional side. There's a scene where he is being asked, oh, I can't remember who asked him. But he's being asked about his last name, and he doesn't want to give it. And he has this look on his face where he finally starts to break a little bit. Not the actor, the character starts to break a little bit from his big facade, and he gets a little emotional. That's when I said, okay, this is an actual amazing performance. He is playing this character. He is exuding who this character is, and he's able to change it. And for me, when I look at acting, not only do I believe them in the role, which you do with Allu Arjun right away, but you want to ask yourself when you're watching it, can they show different variations of this character, which would be so hard to do, just to play a character one note and then have to have a range to it. He had a wide range. Allu Arjun was the star in this film, deservedly so, and I am his newest fan, if that makes sense. I think I said that correctly. I'm a huge fan of his now that I've seen him in action, and this guy's fantastic. He's a superstar. And I loved it, too, at the beginning. In a scene that wasn't my favorite, that first action scene, I get it. You want to get people excited. It got me excited. I'm in the theater with, it's a small theater, but it was pretty packed. And there were some people that were laughing at the jokes, but not a lot of people were reacting the way I was to the action. But that action in that first scene, I'm sitting there going, whoa, ooh, like you see me on the reaction shot. That's how I'm reacting in the theater, and the people next to me are being very calm about it. I don't know how they were, because the action was fantastic. But that opening scene, besides establishing his physical ability as a character, story-wise, I didn't really get that scene. I couldn't even tell you where in the movie that scene was plucked from, because you get this scene when he's smuggling the sandalwood. He has to fight these guys. He has to pay off whatever, and then it goes back to the beginning of the story. So I wasn't sure where that came from. I thought that was a little bad with the pacing. That might be a small complaint I have with this film. Some of the pacing in it, not collectively, but that was just to, get the interest of those people that are walking in before their butt hits the seat, to get their interest in there, or when it first hits the seat. But he was fantastic with the action. He was fantastic with those dance numbers, even though his character didn't need that stuff. He was fantastic with his whole presence. I mean, this whole thing that he was doing, like, how do you act throughout an entire movie doing this? And even, some of the other characters who were mimicking him were doing that in Rashmika's dance number, where, she's in the water and she's kind of doing this whole thing. She had done that thing at one point when she was trying to mimic him, but that was really cute. But he presented the whole thing. I've never seen someone kind of do that. I mean, you see different people contort their body, Igor, Frankenstein, and whatnot, but to do that and just have that kind of be your signature thing, but it also allows him to have bravado, allows him to have, him being a boss, so to speak, by changing that. So I loved everything that he did. He was the star of this film. He made this film, and he made me not be able to wait right now for the second part, which I can't wait. And when it comes out, I'm going to check it out right away. Getting to some of the other characters, Rashmika, she did a fantastic job. She has a love interest story, a romantic story with Allu Arjun. He likes her right from the beginning, and I don't want to give too much of it away, especially if you haven't seen it, even though it's a spoiler-free, or this is spoiler-full, because some of these scenes were my favorite, honestly, where you have him and you have his friend Kishava. They're arguing back and forth because he's asking his friend, Does she see me? Is she looking at me? And he's like, no, she's not looking at me. And then he's getting mad. Why can't you just make me be happy and pretend that she's looking at me to make me smile? Is that asking too much? And then he lied about it, but he couldn't keep the lie. It was very, very funny that way. But I liked the unique romantic feel that they had, or a storyline, where it wasn't just, oh, I love you so much, you're so strong and powerful, Pushpa. She can care less about him. She had her own job to do, her own stuff that she was worried about. She was in charge. She was an independent woman. She can care less about him, even though she did notice him, and she did like him, we find out later on in the movie. It was an interesting and kind of odd type of chemistry dynamic that I wasn't sure how much I liked until you get to the scene where they're both in his red van, and she's got a little lookout, and they're just kind of goofing around, and there's a scene where he like won't move his hand. Once we got to that scene and they were able to interact a little bit, that's when I thought, okay, they do have chemistry, and they're both playing these roles very, very well. So I liked that unique part of the romantic story of the movie, to where it allows the romantic part of the story to be a little more than just some run-of-the-mill love story, interest, Bond girl, if you will, from the Bond movies. You got to have 3 or 4 Bond girls. No, it was its own story, and it was unique, and I'm a huge plot fan, and this film, for me, had a lot of plot. I want to get to the director, Sukumar. I have not seen any of his other films. I have not seen Arya. I think I should, because those are pretty big-time films from what I hear. But I loved his direction. I'm not going to lie. I loved his direction, and I believe, again, he wrote... Yeah, he's the only writer on the list here. Very, very impressed with his writing. I'm curious how you guys feel about the direction and the writing. I thought it was very fantastic, because when I feel the writer is the most overlooked component of a film. But if you like a film, a big part of why you like it is because of how it was written, how the plot was presented. It could be the greatest plot in the world, but if it's bad writing, you're going to hate the film. But you're going to think to yourself, man, that was a great concept. So it's not just having concept, but it's about how you lay it out and how you present it. And there's certain scenes in this movie that lets you know that Pushpa is smarter than everyone else in the room. He knows how to get things done. He has a goal in his mind, and he is more clever than anyone else. And I love those types of characters. That's why I love Jack Sparrow in the first Pirates of the Caribbean, because even though he was doing his whole thing and pretending to be dumb, he was the smartest man in the room, and that's how he kept getting away from everyone. Allu Arjun was not playing a Jack Sparrow. He was doing Pushpa, but he was the smartest man in the room, and that takes incredible writing, and there was so much set pieces being presented, being set up. We got all of our pieces in play. Now let's have a fantastic scene or a fantastic action sequence. And then we got the awe from the crowd. Let's reset it and let's get these pieces together. And it was about 3 or 4 times there was these fantastically, amazingly set scenes in this movie that, for me, elevated. And for me, when I leave the theater, I have a good night's sleep, I wake up and I think about it, they still stick in my mind. That's fantastic direction and fantastic writing, and I don't know if he's going to get enough credit, but he should, because that was one of the biggest things about this movie. As I'm watching this movie, being 3 hours, thank goodness for the intermission, because, man, I needed that intermission, right? But near the end of the first half of the film, before the intermission, I was catching myself nod off a little bit. It's the end of a long week. I went to a late show. I went out, got myself some water, got myself some nachos, actually some food to stay awake. But that second half, I was not drowsy whatsoever. And it wasn't because of the nachos, my friends. It was because the second half is way stronger than the first half in every single element, except for a few wonderful scenes in that first half. But the pacing is so much better. The direction is so much better. The writing is so much better. The actors, everything's been set up because of all that work you do in the first half, to where the second half, for me, it went by like in 20 minutes, and it was an hour and a half. It was absolutely so much fun to watch, and I enjoyed the first half quite a bit. The first half I got a fresh rating off that as far as how much I liked it. But that second half was what really brought it home, and that's what you want to do. You want to finish strong. And so many films that have great intentions, they can't finish strong. The last hour and a half, I didn't miss a beat. I didn't want to miss a beat. It was absolutely amazing. So I love the film for that reason. I love the jokes. There was so much comedy in this film. And there was a woman behind me who was just cracking up at all the scenes. I'm sitting there trying to read the subtitles. She obviously, I'm assuming, spoke the language because she was getting those jokes right on point. And I appreciated that because as I'm trying to read it, I know that something funny is coming. So I'm looking for it and I'm finding the humor. So I don't know if it was just her and her, giving that prelude, but there was a lot of funny scenes in this, especially with the dynamic of Allu Arjun and Jagadish. These guys were classic. I don't know if they've been in movies together, but they have an amazing chemistry. They should be in movies together moving forward past the Pushpa series. There was a lot. I talked about those clever moments, and it wasn't just where Allu Arjun, but where the director Sukumar set up different things. And I'm talking about the moment near the very end, right? Almost near the very end with, who was the big bad boss? What was his name? Here it is. Mangalam Shrinu, played by Sunil, who did a great job of playing this creepy, jerky type guy. And his wife, holy cow, she is ruthless, for crying out loud. But the whole thing that happened with him, where earlier on you have him doing that whole, he's like, oh, please spare him, he's family or whatever. And he's like, oh, sorry, I wish I could, but I just killed him. But the guy was still alive, and he was showing how much in charge he was. I love how they flipped that at the end. That was one of the best moments in the movie. And even if you did not like this movie, you're sitting there thinking to yourself, yeah, that was pretty good, because it was a fantastic part. And for me, there were so many different things in it that made me love this film. I love the music in this. I love the orchestrated, the instrumental music, that sets up the scenes, especially when Pushpa's going to do something or he is doing something. Absolutely added to the film. All of the actors around were fantastic. The whole syndicate thing was really cool, and all the actors that played those characters, I don't feel like any of them took me out of it. The brothers, the Jetty brothers, is that what they were called, right? They were Reddy brothers. They, in all their own way, they were different. I like the narration that presented each character to us and gave us a little bit of information. That was really cool. Some of the things I did not like. CGI is either going to sell it for you or it's going to take you out of it. And the CGI wasn't horrible, but there's one scene, it's a small nitpick, where the truck with the lumber goes into the, I don't know what that was, it looked like a geyser or something, but that little tiny pond, and it sunk in. Horrible CGI. Horrible CGI. Definitely takes you out of the film for a few minutes, few seconds. But overall, the CGI was good enough. The action was over the top, but I loved it. It's going to take some people out of it. The length of the film, as Saganisha mentioned to me on Instagram, didn't bother me because the way the second half delivered itself. And I'm trying to think of some other things I've heard from different people that didn't like it, this or that. I love this film. Allu Arjun, Sukumar really sold it for me. The story really sold it for me. One part that was part of the second half that kind of slowed things down was when Fahad Faasil was introduced. That was a weird choice. Fahad Faasil, fantastic actor. As far as I know, this is like his first Telugu film that he's been in. I believe that's correct. And he was presented so late. I get it. There's a second part coming, and he's probably going to play a role in that. But I assumed they were going to save him for the very, very end. The very end, when Pushpa had the upper hand, and then present him the way they presented him, where once he showed up, it changed everything, and then show the back of his beautiful bald head, and then show his face doing something or saying something, and then cut to credit. It seemed like what we were seeing after he showed up, it seemed like that was like the first 20 minutes of the second part. I didn't feel like we needed that in this one. Even with the wedding part, put that at the beginning of the second part, because it reminds those viewers who hadn't seen it the day before, oh yeah, this is what happened. They're going to get married. He's been ticking off. Or you're watching this guy. Oh yeah, how he's going to play a role. He's ticking him off. It was very weird. It was very, very weird why they placed it where they placed it. Maybe they wanted Faasil to do something. You could have had him do something with another group of people to show and establish his power. And then when he arrives there where Pushpa's at and he gets that new assignment and the credits roll, then you're like, oh no, what's Pushpa going to do now? It adds more weight. But I'm curious what you think. Let me know. Comment below, how did you feel about his part in this film? Did you feel like it wasn't needed? Did you feel like they just wanted to give him something to do to make the Fahad Faasil fans, to bring in maybe some Malayalam fans into the Telugu film industry that maybe weren't giving it much of a chance? I don't know. It was very weird. I thought he did a good job, But again, with his whole storyline, you establish that this guy is something not to mess with, but then you bring him down completely and you humiliate him just to rise up Pushpa. You've done enough with Pushpa's character that we're not going to believe that he's fallen. If he's doing everything that Fahad's character, Banwar, tells him to do, then we already know that he's got some plan, because Pushpa, this is one of the things I loved about the character, he doesn't bow down to anyone. Talking about jokes, that scene where he's on that folding chair in front of the mill and he bends his leg, or he puts his leg over his knee or over his leg, or however he did it, and he's eating his roll with the tea and or the coffee. He says, "This is my leg. This is my leg. I can put my leg over my leg. I can do whatever I want." That was funny. That was a great scene. We already know he's not going to do what anyone tells him to do. So I guess my biggest complaint, and even though it was the second half, but I was so enthralled at that point, was that point. Didn't understand that. That was kind of a weird, that was not the best choice by our director and whoever did the storyboards for that. That was a miss, but I forgive it because the rest of this film is fantastic. Allu Arjun, he went totally like Elvis or something like that. He went total like Bollywood or Hollywood, if you will, with his hairstyle and his glasses and his clothes. I mean, what was those clothes he was wearing once he made it to the very, very top? I wasn't too happy, as stupid as this is, with the costume choices of the clothes he was wearing. I thought they could have done something with him being rich, but also still kind of keeping the same swagger and the same style. But I loved everything else about this film. The acting was fantastic. The storyline was great, besides a few mix-ups. It was great how they had, I thought the sandalwood smuggling was going to be a bigger part, but you didn't need it to be. They didn't rely solely on just that plot device. And so that was nice because they had so much more substance there. I love the love story. I love the revenge with the creepy guy. And I love how he swore that he wasn't going to tell his brothers what happened because he wanted to be a man. So we know in the second part, he's going to try to get his revenge. So that's going to be cool. I'm curious if the other Reddy brother, who now is on Pushpa's payroll, if you will, is going to also join his brother and get some revenge. Because he seems like he's completely drinking the Kool-Aid right now. And I did like that whole dynamic, how he kept him alive for a reason. I love the whole scene where, I almost forgot to mention this, one of my favorite scenes, if not my favorite scene, is where they got the mask on him, they put him in the hole. These guys are savage. They dig the hole and they tell you to get in there and they bury you alive and then they probably shoot you if they want to. He was going to shoot him before. But that whole sequence was cool because I'm sitting here like, okay, how's he going to get out of this? He's going to like flick a rock and it's going to hit 15 people. This better be good the way he gets out of it. And then you have these other people come in, and I'm like, why are they helping Pushpa? Well, then I realize they're not helping Pushpa. They have their own agenda to get these Reddy brothers out of there because they're messing things up with their boss, Mangalam. It was so much fun. He's sitting there running, and it was so cool. I've never seen that before, where he had the bandana over his head as a blindfold, and he's blowing it up just so he can get a little bit of a sliver of light to see what's in front of him or what's going to happen so he can avoid it. Thought that was really cool how he went under the tree and the twig was able to, the branch was able to pull off his, that thing was really, really cool. That sequence was cool. There's so many sequences in this movie that is worth the price of admission. Absolutely. Even though I paid $15 to watch this film, as I watch this film, this is a stupid thing. If you want to be done with the video, you can be done with the video right now. But as I watched this film, I thought to myself, I feel bad, right? For all of the Indians that live in Las Vegas that want to watch a film in Telugu and they have to pay $15, and not just that, but they're going to have subtitles plastered on there when they don't need it if they speak Telugu. I did feel bad for that, and I'm watching it like, man, that would suck. But again, it was a packed house, a packed smaller theater in here in Las Vegas, so the other theaters should be wising up and should be playing some more Indian films so I can watch them more and review them. My final grade for Pushpa, The Rise Part 1, long title, I've got to give this an A-. You guys are going to think I'm crazy, especially if I'm right that a lot of people aren't love this as much as I do, but I absolutely love this film for so many different reasons. The Fahad storyline really kind of took me out of it, and that probably brought it down from a solid A, but still an A- for me. Loved it. I can see myself watching this again. The 3 hours does not feel like 3 hours, and it's a great film. And whether you're into Indian films or you're not, check this out when you get a chance. Turn on those subtitles if you need it, and you are not going to be disappointed. This might be like one of the best films to introduce into Indian films if you've never seen an Indian film, because it has the music, but the music is not does not take you away from the movie at all. It's really, really good. I definitely recommend it. Let me know what your thoughts are below, please. My favorite thing about posting videos is interacting with you back and forth and getting that debate on, having those conversations. So please leave your thoughts. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to do this. And until next time, adios.